The tips in this video are going to help you significantly improve your acro taming abilities, and it's going to help both new and experienced players. I know this because I really struggled with acro taming when it first came out. In fact, it would send me into a rage. I have been doing a lot of sciencing and testing both on foot and with creatures, so I feel super confident now in taming, and by the end of this video, you should too. In theory, the taming strategy is quite easy. You damage the acro until it gets to shield mode, you damage it until it roars, you feed it narcotic or biotoxin, and then repeat this over and over again and it will knock out. But we both know a lot can go wrong. A lot of the time you end up accidentally killing it, it punts you across the map, or it breaks your armor consistently and kills you. In the first part of this video, we're going to talk about strategies for taming on foot, and in the second part, we're going to talk about the best creatures to use for taming. Feel free to skip ahead if you like. The main reason that I prefer on-foot taming is that it is a lot faster than using a creature, but it comes with a lot more risks and problems. One of the best ways to avoid this issue is to pick a good taming location. For taming on foot, you want a relatively flat area without too many trees or rocks. Some of my favorite areas include the Kano Island spawn on the island map, the Ragnarok Southern Beach area, the Ragnarok Plains near the redwoods. If you find a good acro in these areas, I recommend taming on foot. I tend to avoid Extinction and Scorched Earth because I find that in a full flak armor set you get heatstroke really easily. However, if the acro you want to tame is in a difficult position or in the redwoods, and in Valguero there are loads of redwood spawns, you have two options. You can either kite it away to a more flat area, or you can use a creature, which I actually find easier. What you want to do next is prep the right gear. This can be really important for the taming process. The first thing I always bring is a few sleeping bags, around 3 to 4, and place them in the nearby area. Then you want to bring at least 2 sets of strong armor. I always bring 2 Ascendant flak sets. If you do not have Ascendant armor, make sure you have lots of spares. The next thing is the weapon, and I think this comes down to your preference. For me, I definitely prefer a pump action shotgun. And for me, I actually found that a mid-tier damage shotgun was the best option. If the damage is really high, you risk 1 or 2 shotting it by accident. If the damage is low, then you may get hit too many times, and that could result in a lot of armor loss or death. You definitely want to bring more ammunition than you think you will need. I also recommend bringing a second weapon. I like to bring a sniper rifle. There are a few reasons for this. I use it at the start of the team to get the acro's aggression over towards me. If the acro aggros to another creature in the area and you want to get rid of that creature, it's easy to kill it with a sniper from distance. The other piece of equipment I highly recommend you bring if you have it is Tek binoculars. This lets you monitor the torpor and the health over time. If you do not have access to Tek binoculars, you could consider using a spyglass mod for this reason. My definite recommendation is to bring biotoxin instead of narcotics. This makes the torpor go up so much faster. I highly recommend bringing some soups to enhance your player performance. I definitely recommend bringing Focal Chili for increased speed of running, and Enduro Stew for stamina because you will be sprinting a lot of the time. Because soups run out or they end if you die, I like to bring along a Summer Drakeling. This gives a running speed boost as well as a speed boost to any tames that you use. The bonus here is that if you enable slow fall, it will help you if you do get punted, you won't take fall damage. Another item I highly recommend bringing is some getaway equipment. At some point the tame may go wrong and you need to move away from the acro very quickly. One thing I like to do is to bring a wingsuit, run and pop into glide mode, get some distance between you and the acro. The other thing I like to bring is a Tame in a cryo, throw it out. One of the preferred tames I like to bring for this is a Thyla. They're very maneuverable, you can climb, you can jump, and they're pretty fast and you can get away easily. Another option for a getaway vehicle is to have either a friend or tribe mate nearby. You can see here that Mr. Crab missed a feed, so I am picking him up with the Desmodus. You hover in the air for a little bit and then put them back down and continue the tame. The final thing I recommend you bring if you have it is an unwanted creature. I usually bring some Ovis or some baby Ovis along. These can come in super handy if things start going wrong. The next thing that you really want to get down before you start your tame is knowing the difference between a real roar and a fake roar. For the real roar, the acro will bend down to the left, and then whip its head up and do a massive wide open roar. You'll see airwaves shimmer around it as it does it, and it's really loud. During the real roar, this is your moment to approach the acro, hit the E prompt to feed it the biotoxin that you have in the last slot of your hotbar. A lot of people will tell you that you have to approach it at the mouth, but you can actually approach it from the body and even the legs, and it will still give you the prompt to feed it the biotoxin. If you successfully feed the biotoxin to the aggro during the real roar, you'll notice its health goes all the way back to full. For the fake roar, it won't move its head too much and it keeps it really low down, and it does more of a low groan sound, and it's not as loud. It also does some kind of low jazz hands, so look out for that. That's the difference between the two. If you are too close to the acro during the fake roar, then it gets mad again and does a really loud roar that's up super high in the area. This means that it's really angry and going to start raging out at you. It also gives a stun effect to the player and will boot them across the map. When you see the fake roar about to happen, the best thing you can do is to move away from the acro. I always use this as an opportunity to reload my weapon. You'll notice that after the fake roar, the acro's health also goes back to full, so consider it a way as healing itself without needing to get fed the biotoxin. Now that we have all the info, let's put it together in a single tame. So first I'm going to get its attention with the sniper. It's now noticed me and I'm going to switch over to my shotgun, and you can see I've got it in defensive stance, and then what's important here is to count how many shots you need to do in order to get it to roar. So that was 2 shots there. So another 1 shot. Now it's doing the fake roar. I'm going to continue to back up, reload my weapon. After the fake roar, it's immune to damage for a point here. So we have another 2 shots, and then we get a real roar. So if it does a fake roar, keep shooting. It will eventually do a real roar. We've got another 2 shots. Feed it the food. You can see it's healed up and the torpor is going up. It's in defensive stance. We're going to hit it once, twice, and we get our real roar. So once you notice how many shots you need in order for it to move to defensive to give you the roar, it's now just counting and pattern recognition. We have 1, 2 shots and then a roar. It's important to remain patient here. It's out of defensive mode, so I'm trying to damage it again. We got a defensive stance, but I was too close to it and I got whacked really far away. Keep an eye on its health. It's about half health. I know I can get 2 more shots in. It's going to give me the roar and we can get it back up to full health. You can see it does a fake roar here. I am very, very close to it. It gets angry and it punts me back into this rock. You can see I'm stunned. I'm a little bit nervous here. It's going to rage out to me, so I'm going to go and get out my Thylacoleo, throw it out, jump on, and just take a breath and get away. This is a good moment to take a small little break. I'm going to make sure my character has something to eat, check on the water, and check on the health as well. It's time to reload the weapon and then put the Thyla away, and we get it done just in time here. You can see that the Acro is now out of defensive stance, so we have to hit it with some damage. It's back into defensive stance. We're going to 1, 2. This is where I make a mistake. I go for a 3rd shot and it gets mad and I miss its feed roar. So you can see I am stunned, it is low health, and we missed a feed. So it is going to get really, really ticked off now. So I grab my Thyla and I just get out of there to take another break. I'm going to lead it over to a creature that it can hopefully kill, and then it can heal up from. The Acro has eaten a couple of the wildlife, so it is back to full health. If it doesn't kill something in the wild, what you can do is throw out one of your baby creatures, but we don't need it. We have some space between us and the Acro now, so we're going to put the Thyla away. The Acro is coming in. I'm going to get its attention with my sniper. Switch out to the shotgun. 1 shot, 2 shots. Now it's in defensive mode. We get a fake roar. It is mad. We're going to shoot it 1 more time after the fake roar, and then we get a real roar. You can also run between its legs and head in the other direction. Another 1 shot, fake roar, back up, into defensive mode, 2 more shots, real roar. And you can see you get the feed prompt anywhere on its body, on the neck there. You get another fake roar. We're going to back up. You do end up getting a lot of fake roars. It gets really tiring. We get that shot in right after the fake roar. We get a real roar. It's almost knocked out. We're so close. We have another 2 shots. I was impatient, went for a third, but in the end it worked out. We got it knocked out. There is a really funny thing I've noticed with acro taming. After you have knocked it out, it doesn't matter what happens, you will always tame out at 100% effectiveness. So here you can see I've put in just raw meat, which is a really bad taming food. It took 1 bite and the effectiveness is still 100%. You can see here that with this knocked out acro, I throw a few punches on it, which should take the effectiveness down, but when we check it, it's still 100%. Arc being arc, I can't tell if this is a bug or a feature. It could get patched down the road. I still prefer kibble because it is so much faster. On official rates, kibble's going to take you 46 minutes to tame, and raw meat is going to be 3.5 hours, so I'm very impatient. I know which one I would prefer. Depending on your taming rates, you may also need to bring some narcotic or biotoxin to keep it knocked out during the process. And don't forget to bring the sanguine elixir for a 30% taming boost right off the bat. For taming on foot, a lot of players swear by using a Tek Suit. Now this is only available if you have a Tek Suit unlocked and you have element to power it. The strategy is to hover just above the acro, slightly out of range of its attacks, then shoot it with your shotgun or a tech rifle, drop down when it does the roar and feed it. I think this could work really well. Unfortunately for me, I kinda suck at using the Tek Suit. So when I did this technique, I found that often it took me a really long time to drop down from the hover position, and I was more likely to miss a feed, and I didn't feel so confident with it. So if you're good with a Tek Suit, I think this could be a really good strategy. If you have tried several times and you're just not really clicking with the taming on foot method, you can tame acros from a creature. The most important thing to know is you have to bring along the right creature. You will see some tames being recommended like an ice wyvern, a thylacoleo, or a carbonemus like the turtle, shooting off the back and tanking the damage. I'm going to let you know right away, do not waste your time using these. They are not going to work very well. The main reason for this is with the acro knockback attack, these creatures can go flying. It puts you very far away from the acro. You're very much likely to miss the feeding roar, and then you have to deal with a very hyper aggressive acro. So what you want to look for is creatures that are immune to knockback. My number 1 recommended creature for the acro tame is to use a drake. Rock drakes are the natural enemies of reapers, therefore they are immune to the knockback tailspin. For taming purposes, I used a bred rock drake with a full imprint, and it either had a mastercraft or ascendant saddle. I would not recommend bringing a fresh brand new drake that hasn't been leveled, but if you have a decent drake with a good saddle and has a few levels in it, you could bring that along. There are 2 ways in which I use the rock drake for taming. The first one was to do damage with the rock drake. Again, when doing this, it's a numbers and counting game. You can see how much damage you do per bite without it being in shield mode, and then bites that are in shield mode. Then you need to count the number of bites while it's in shield mode before it roars again. I always like to have the tech binoculars to keep an eye on the health because it did take quite a few bites to get a roar. Once it roars, you jump off the rock drake, spam the feed key, and then just jump back on. If you spam the key too much, you sometimes pop on and off the rock drake. And then you just repeat the process, counting how many bites you need to do before you get the feeding roar. I found this method to be pretty consistent and reliable, and I definitely felt a lot safer being on the back of a rock drake. You can see that it's taking swings at us, but the rock drake is barely moving. It was easier to get into the pattern of knowing when it was going to roar. Now if you miss the feed prompt like I did here, you can see the acro's health doesn't go up. Then I jumped on the rock drake and I was getting stuck underneath it. It was getting a little bit frustrating, but you can jump away, move away from the acro and give it some time to heal up. Again, I did bring some baby creatures to throw out, or I killed a lot of creatures in the area and left the dead bodies around, kiting the acro over to them, making sure that it could heal that way. Some of the drawbacks to using a creature is I feel like I often miss the feeds a little bit more when I was not on foot. Maybe it's just the timing with the dismount, but I feel like occasionally I missed the feed prompt as I would often remount my creature instead of giving the feed prompt. Another issue I stumbled across was sometimes the rock drake would definitely get stuck underneath The Acro, so you definitely don't want this if you don't have a good saddle. You do have to take a few hits to get out of the area, and you have to be really careful not to kill the Acro in trying to get out. One thing you'll notice here is that even though we are stuck on the back of the Acro with the Rock Drake, when we dismount, we are actually getting that feed prompt on the back of the Acro, so you can use that. You do not always have to run into the mouth. If it does the fake roar while you're on the back of the creature, you don't really seem to get stunned. If you do fall for it and jump off, you will get stunned. My Rock Drake did get moved, but not too much. While I found this method to be pretty stable and less scary, it did seem to take a really long time, far more than doing it on foot. But there is another way in which you can use the Rock Drake to tame the Acro, and this is one of my preferred ways to tame it. That way is to use a combination of shotgun and riding on the back of the Drake. You can equip weapons on the back of the Drake, so just like the on foot method, I count how many times I need to get it to roar after being in defensive mode. Remain on the back of the Drake until you see that roar, and then jump off and feed it. And you can see here that we got a fake roar, and so we're just going to move away from the area and continue the tame a little bit later on. I found this method to be pretty consistent and pretty reliable, so if on foot has not been working out for you, you keep getting killed, I recommend doing the shotgun on the back of the Rock Drake if you have one. This method goes a lot faster than just doing the damage with the Drake alone, but I feel like occasionally I was more likely to mess up a feed. I had something interesting and unexpected happen at the end of this tame. When I knocked out the Acro, it landed on top of my character and I was stuck underneath it. There's no way I could crawl out. I tried, I even logged in and out, and I was still not able to get out from underneath it. So I actually had to respawn from my implant, spawn at one of the sleeping bags nearby, and get my stuff that way. The other creature that I recommend using for the Acro taming is to use a Managarmr. Here I am using a bred Managarmr. I was lucky enough to get an Ascendant saddle on this thing, so I can take quite a bit of damage from the Acro. But you can see it doesn't really get pushed around by the Acro. What you can do is, I tend to use the breath attack to do the damage. You do have to be a little bit careful for this. I did kill one using the breath attack because of lag. You can see that I missed a feed here, so we have a very angry Acro that is almost dead. The nice thing about the mana is they are so fast and they are so easy to get away. You just kind of pulse, jump up, glide away. Then you can come back to the Acro again, either killing some creatures in the area to heal it or throwing out a creature of your own. It took me a little bit more time to get used to the mana taming method, especially using the breath attack. It's not like you're counting number of bites or number of shots. You just have to really monitor the health and be really patient. There's a few times where I felt like I had to tank a bit of damage from the Acro before I could get it to do the roar. As the tame progressed, I definitely learned I needed to be a little bit more patient with the breath attack. I definitely recommend this method if you feel like using a weapon is not your thing. Their manas are great, they're really fast, they're easy to get away, they do just the right amount of damage, and you can easily jump off, get your feed, jump back on, and be safe. Of course, once you have your Acro out, you want to tame it up with some food. I do recommend kibble. I know that you can get 100% with raw meat, but kibble is just way faster. Please let me know in the comments which was your favorite tip in this video to help the other people watching. If you like these kind of videos, subscribe for more, or you can click on this video right here.